I'm going to go to Lamentations 4. And I'm only going to spend a couple scriptures on this, talking about July the 4th, right? Independence Day. Here in America, all right? In Lamentations 4 and 17, it says, "As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us." All right, so this country can't save us. It can't save you from judgment coming. People think here in America that war will never be over here. Nothing will ever happen to the people over here. You're wrong. All right? Just because it's in a strategic location and the military is so buffed up, you think that it ain't never going to go down over here. You're wrong. All right? It all is building, all escalating to that judgment day. All right, at the end of World War III, that will be the decisive finish of World War III. And then all of that, Christ is going to make his appearance and judge the world. All right? You think America's in a strategic location? No, God is the author of strategy. All right, he knows exactly what he's doing. All right, and part of it is the pride that has puffed the people up. Here in America specifically, the pride of Esau's here in America. And in Revelation 18, I do just want to point out, and I'll actually post this on the Facebook page, and I'll probably even post it on YouTube if I remember to do that, because you may post on YouTube. Linking to the Ezekiel Israel teaching page concerning Independence Day. I did like a whole 40-minute class on that, talking about the Somerset case, which is rarely talked about when talking about independence and why the quote-unquote founding fathers wanted independence from Britain. So I'll make sure to post that before next Sabbath, because it's next Friday, I think it is. So, but in Revelation 18, starting with verse 1, "And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird." Right? So, Babylon the Great is fallen. It's already written in stone. It's already prophesied that this country, Babylon the Great, also in other scriptures known as the daughter of Babylon, is going to fall. All right, it's not going to last forever. All right, and it's become the habitation of devils and every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. That radiation, them nukes, is going to do something to the birds over here, man. It's going to turn them into, monsters that toy with these spirits that's over here. "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." Right? So all nations have felt the wrath of America in some way or another. And that's why you see pretty much everybody turn on America right now. Trump is being used by the Most High to turn everybody against America. Everybody except Bibi Milikowski, of course, because, he wants his money. He wants his military money. All right. "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Right? So if you want to do any major business in the modern world, you got to go to Wall Street. You got to put your stock on Wall Street. Right? You got to visit the New York Stock Exchange. All right? That's Babylon. That's Babylon the Great. That's the Empire City. All right. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues." All right. So, the sins of America, as it's going to say in verse 5, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities." Right? So the sins of America have reached up unto God. It's only going to go so far. He's only going to let it go so far, like he has with every other nation in the past. All right? No nation or empire has lasted forever because they do wickedness. All right? And eventually it gets to the point where God just has enough of it. All right, America is no different. All right, so what are we supposed to do? Come out of her. That's what we're supposed to do. Come out of her. That you be not partakers of her sins, right? So it's not talking about like you literally got to leave, because some people financially are not going to be able to leave, right? People who are like put in prison, for example, they physically can't leave, and they're really making it to the point where it's more and more difficult to physically leave at this point, right? So God knows not everybody's going to be able to physically leave. So what all He's asking us to do is don't be partakers of her sins, right? Leave this place mentally. Leave this place spiritually. Separate yourself from the sins of this place. All right? So yeah, we'll leave that there. Well, no, because I want to go through verse 8. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. Double unto her double. That's the judgment that America is going to get. Double unto her double. And the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double, right? So twice the amount of destruction and chaos America has wrought on the world, that's what's going to be brought back on it, all right? And I'm keeping it very surface level there. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, all right? So people, people think that it's just going to be like this forever, where hey, I'm just going to live my life and sit on my couch and go to the grocery store and everything's going to be fine. No, the sins of this place is going to reach up into heaven at some point. At some point. Because how do you think goods are so cheap here? I know inflation has kind of, wrecked things in some major cities, but like, where do you think all the bananas come from? Where do you think all the, exotic fruits come from? Where do you think all the sugar comes from? All right? It comes from places where they're putting people in slavery. Where do you think all the chocolate comes from? It comes from places where they're putting the people in slavery. All the cheap clothes, all the Nike, all the iPhones. All right? They're putting people in slavery across the world. Not everywhere, but primarily where the Israelites are, putting the people in slavery. All right? Giving them little to no wages. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrow. That's what people think. They think that, ain't nothing bad ever going to happen to America. They think it's going to last forever. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. It's going to be a specific day. Judgment day. All right? The scripture calls it the day of the Lord. All right? It's going to be the return of the Lord. That's when all is going to happen. Death and mourning and famine. And she shall be utterly burned with fire. What kind of fire? Nuclear fire. All right? Them scientists who come up with them bombs, and by the way, they're like 1,000 times more powerful than they were at the end of World War II, by the way. But those people who come up with them bombs, they didn't know what they was doing. They didn't realize the true capabilities of those bombs. All right? And that is like, it's a spiritual thing. Even when your flesh dies, God's going to bring your spirit back to be burnt by that radiation. All right, for those who receive this judgment. You don't want to be partakers of this judgment. You want to not be partakers of her sins. You want to come out of her. I'm telling you straight up, you want to come out of the sins of America. You don't want to celebrate this place. You don't want to be like everyone else here. You want to be one of the ones that get delivered, because the things that they're going to feel here, this is the lake of fire. We just ain't got the fire yet. All right. For strong is the Lord God who judges her. All right. Let me just get this real quick, just so y'all can understand. In Jeremiah 16. Because now, especially when like celebrating the Passover and whatnot, but also in like the movies, right? Like in Exodus, Gods and Kings, and what's the other one that come out that was animated? Prince of Egypt, right? We talk about, the God who brought the Israelites up out of Egypt, right? And the 10 plagues that God put on Egypt. A lot of people know about that. The song, Moses, Moses didn't sing to Pharaoh, but it's turned into a hymn, let my people go. Like, people talk about that to show the wonderful works of the Lord, to show his mighty hand, right? But guess what? And it's going to be a day when people ain't talking about that so much anymore. All right, in Jeremiah 16:14, it says, "Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north," aka North America, "and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers." Right? So it's the deliverance, as Christ said in Matthew 24, it's not just going to be in America. His angels are going to gather his elect from the four winds of heaven, right? So that's why it says from all the lands. But he specifically mentioned the land of the north because that's the land where, as it said in Revelation 18, "For strong is the Lord who judges her." That's what everybody's going to be thinking about, is the destruction, the judgment that is brought on this land specifically. All right, that's what everybody's going to know the Lord for once we get into the kingdom. That's going to be his reputation. All right, people are getting too complacent. People are getting too secular, getting too agnostic, too atheist. All right, thinking that there is no God. He's got to make his power known, and he will. It's coming very soon. All right, that's what everybody's going to be talking about. Once the Lord destroys this land, they're going to say, "Hey, great is the Lord who destroyed America." That's what he's going to be known for. He's not going to be known as, the God who destroyed Egypt anymore. But that's what Egypt was back then. It was the America of its day. It was the ruling kingdom at that time. Built off the backs of the Israelites. The same as America. Built off the backs of the so-called blacks and indigenous here. And now off the backs of the Latinos who built up all the buildings.